Alright, so we are going to be taking the torsion carrier out of the car so that we can re-index it for this hashtag safari mode vehicle. And what none of the instructions really talk about is, it looks like you gotta drop the rear half of the exhaust. And of course, 40-year-old car, those bolts are rusted from so much heat cycling, so I'm gonna have to cut those in order to drop this section, and then the rear we should be able to get off of the rubber mounts. Yes. So, first things first, cutting those 3 bolts to get the exhaust out of the way. That went better than expected, honestly. Okay, so the rear section of exhaust is free. Now I just need to get the hangers out, which is always a good time. Might be able to get away with actually unbolting it from the hanger. Let's try that first. 13 mil. Oh, heck yeah, brother. Just gonna leave one bolt in while I get the front or the rear. Alright, now we're going to follow Clark's Garage printed instructions. We now remove the rear carrier bolt. Do the same on the other side. Alright, now we are disconnecting the rear brake line from the caliper. Highly recommend that you get flared wrenches for brake lines. They're usually quite soft. This is an 11 millimeter, maybe? Or is it a 10? Seems like it's an 11. Now I did completely drain my plate brake reservoir prior to starting this because I was placing some of the soft lines of the brakes and also the clutch master and slave. But as you can see, there's still fluid in this line, so we're gonna let that bleed into our pan here. Alright, now that the brake line is done dripping, we can start taking this axle off. Is a triple square. We're going to jam the brake rotor. I believe it's an 8 millimeter triple square, but don't quote me on that, dude. Alright, we're supposed to also remove the brake line from the trailing arm. Which, the only way I see that happening is if we disconnect it here. So I don't know why. It seems like we should have just disconnected it here, left it connected on the caliper. So I'm going to disconnect this line so that the trailing arm is free of the body side brake line. So this goes over the carrier. Anyways. Alright, we are going to go after this trailing arm. Might grab the old offset wrench for that one. Washer on the bolt head side. Alright, so we have to remove these 3 bolts to remove the trailing arm assembly from the spring plate. You really want to make sure your trailing arm assembly is supported. I've got a strap, but it feels like the strap is too longitudinal than vertical. So I've got my jack underneath the strut just to see when I take these off what happens, because this whole assembly will be free. The only thing holding it up is this. and I just don't want to damage anything, so we'll see what happens. Alright, so for my car, it ended up being these 319s right here. Now the trailing arm is free. I also removed the lower strut bolts, and my bucket and strap method seems to be holding up that trailing arm assembly decently. I'm gonna go touch the other side. I'm gonna leave the eccentrics on the spring plate connected and undo the 319s. Alright, so now we're supposed to remove the cantilever nut and bolt, which appears to be 13 millimeter. I'm gonna do the same on the other side. Alright, just to show you how I have the T-bar assembly supported right in the middle with the floor jack. Got buckets holding the trailing arms. And we're gonna take these 19s off. There's a nut on the back side of it. Well, they've been taking full advantage of my offset wrenches. I have not owned them for very long. They have come in handy ever since purchasing them. I'm gonna put an extension on there. I'm going to repeat that on the other side. Alright, we are on the gently prying step. Which, I don't know about you, but feels mildly sketchy. It kind of feels like these bolts need to come out too. Instructions say I can drop this to the floor without doing anything to the handbrake cables, so so I wanted to cover how I got the handbrake assembly off. I had to cut this because I couldn't figure out how to undo it. But I undid the bolt here. This is connected by a bolt. So that came free. That gave me enough slack to sneak this off of here. So now that's free. And then that also gave me enough slack to sneak this off of there. Okay, so we finally got it out. As you see here, now I believe we need to take the old, these off. And that will free the spring plate carrier for us to re-index this bad boy.